Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman with another Liberty Roundtable live short video brought to you by lovingliberty.net. When you want incredible talk radio around the clock, think lovingliberty.net. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a morality issue going on here in the country that I really want to speak to. You know, George Washington in his farewell address basically said, hey, you know what? Morality is the key. You can't divorce morality and religion from a free people. If you do, you won't be free, was basically the summation of what he had to say over his life and culminating in his farewell address. Well, compare that President George Washington, who believed honesty was the issue, morality was king, pardon the pun. Now you've got August 17th. 1998, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Clinton admits to having an inappropriate relationship with Monica Lewinsky, according to this day of history. And I look at this and I go, wow, what the heck is going on? So he lied, got caught. Then he basically apologized, but he didn't really apologize. He kind of just said, oh, I deeply regret. And I'm not sure if he means deeply regret getting caught or if he means more like I deeply regret, being with Monica, or if he really means I, from a moral point of view, deeply regret that it ever happened. He never really said. He also said he let everybody down. He said and then he'd take personal responsibility. And he went on this big, but in the end of the day, what he did is he came out of it without really apologizing, but saying, I was legally correct. And then he went on to say, my personal life is my personal life and it's none of your business. And I would disagree 100%. You need to have public and private morality if you're going to lead the people and be in a position of service, a position of representation, a position of the leader of the free world, a position of America should be a light on its hill, and this is our leader, commander-in-chief. Yes, he's military leader, but he's humble and kind and respectful, and he wants peace, not war. And I mean, the list goes on, what we want from our leaders. But then, as you look at this thing, you got to ask yourself some questions. They say you can't legislate morality, Sam. I disagree. Let me explain what I mean. Listen carefully. Shaping society through the cradle and gavel. Think about that. Shaping society through the cradle and gavel. The role of legislation in moral foundations cannot be overlooked. Okay, while laws cannot directly instill morality, they can foster an environment that upholds ethical values, recognizing the fact that, hey, the roots of the legislation often trace back to the essential principles taught from the very cradle, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, what does that mean? It means that we realize, folks, that the hand that rocks the cradle, mom, rules the world. Dad, leader, under God Almighty, is the leader of a family. The family is the most fundamental need of society that we have. And if the family breaks down and melts down, society will consequently break down, melt down. No wonder society looks like it does, right? We need to return to the God-ordained family where there's a mother and a father who welcome children and love them in kindness and raise them in righteousness, teaching them the principles of liberty, teaching them about a moral compass that comes from God, not government, teaching them that there are solutions to the problems we face if you turn to God. If you turn to your family, and if you turn to your extended family, which is your country, and you can make all countries great again because you'll make all countries moral again, right? You need mom to make America moral again, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, though, we have women like Hillary Clinton. When Bill Clinton was involved in those sexual relations scandals, his wife, instead of being, I don't know what you'd say, incensed, instead of he didn't apologize. She took part in his enabling. She said, yeah, all these women that were involved are nothing but bimbo eruptions. Remember back in the day when Hillary was saying that kind of stuff? Nowadays, you got the Me Too movement, supposedly. And now you've got supposedly a sea change, but I don't think so. I think it's just the same. Now, listen carefully. You got this Democrat thought leader, Jasmine Crockett in Texas. She calls on President Trump to quit being Putin's hoe.
If you could tell Donald Trump anything tonight, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to grow a spine and stop being Putin's hoe.
I kid you not. Now, you can debate if you're talking about hoe or whore or what the differences mean or whatever else. But Jim Hoft over at thegatewaypundit.com highlights this reality. You literally have Jasmine Crockett saying that Trump is Putin's hoe. That's a leader, a representative in Congress, folks. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. Shame on her for making that kind of an accusation. It's out of line. It's out of character. And again, it debases society. The more we have this, Bill Clinton doing this lady doing that, Hillary Clinton doing what she did. And now we come to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Similar problem, right? A big, big, big problem, I say. What am I talking about? Well, now it turns out that, hey, Hillary Clinton's going to, support Donald Trump maybe? If he somehow wins a deal with Putin or works it out, and man, she'll nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Really? I think Bill and Hillary Clinton are in trouble over the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And I sadly think Donald Trump may be wrapped up in it in some very weird, implicating ways. I don't know what those ways are. I'm not prepared to speculate. I defend Donald Trump. At the same time, why did Donald say on the campaign trail to get a big group of people to want him, like him, want him, support him? Hey, we want him to be our leader. And then at the end of the day, he turned and he said, no, we're not going to release this stuff. Now he says he's trying to release it. And the Republicans said they'd release it, but golly, the Democrats are blocking us. Or no, I mean, the Democrats want it and the Republicans are blocking them. And, then it's like, well, we can't let the Democrats get away with this. What have they been doing the last 4 years? They should have said they were, for it back when they had the gavel and had control. And the list goes on and on and on, right? The tragic part about this whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that Bill and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, several people, Bill Gates, are all at the center of this. And they're now burying this thing to where they've literally chopped MAGA in half over this. Trump thinks it'll go away. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton thought it would go away. Sadly, so far, all of these people are absolutely right. They are above the law. Okay? Because before all this scandal happened about Bill Clinton's sexual trysts, he had problems financially with business dealings as governor and everything else. All that got swept under the rug. No harm, no foul. Don't worry, Bill. We're not even going after you for those things. But now I got to ask, were there business dealings with Jeffrey Epstein that got shut down? Remember back in the 90s, Donald Trump and Jeff used to hang out. They were seen all over the place. New York, LA, DC, all over the place. And now we're going to go ahead and crack down and clean up DC. But we're not going to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein files. By the way, that scandal that Barack Obama and Hillary and Bill Clinton did was horrible. Back in the day, it was horrible stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yet nothing ever happens. There's always talk. They always bring you to the brink of frustration, of anger, of concern for your country, right? But yet, hey, the problem is, all I can tell you is the problem is we don't take action. There's no consequences. So this disgusting Democrat literally says the president's acting like a hoe for the nation of Russia. And that's fine just to say. Hillary Clinton's fine to call everybody bimbos back in the day. Bill and Dawn and everybody's fine to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and nothing's going to happen. Okay, now they've got this crowds on demand. It's your home, they say, for impactful advocacy campaigns, demonstrations, PR stunts, audiences for hire. We're available nationwide, they say. Crowdsondemand.com, CEO of paid protest company, says it works with both sides of the aisle. Both sides love it and hire him to literally, in my humble opinion, rent a riot. They would say, no, Sam, it's not like that. It's crowds on demand. We're just advocating for our cause. We're peaceful. But yet when it goes violent, have they traced who was getting paid to be there? They haven't. So requests, they say, for paid protesters have increased by over 400% since President Trump took office. And this guy that's the CEO of this was on Fox and Friends and basically said, hey, Crowds on Demand is a public relations firm providing crowds for various events, including political protests. Well, what does that mean? If I have a birthday party, can I pretend I'm rich and famous, hire a crowd and then film it and everybody thinks I'm a rock star? Man, look at Sam Bushman's birthday party. They say, this is Schwartz now, this gentleman that's the CEO, they say compensation for protests is usually in the low hundreds of dollars per person. But depending on the assignment, hiring a person to be in a rent-a-crowd is kind of like just getting an ad done. like an ad for TV or radio, then you got to ask yourself this: what's going on? You got to rent a crowd now rioting and raging for or against certain things. You don't know if they're genuinely for the cause or if they're doing it for money. You got these people going out there for money, but then it turns violent, and wow, the people that are in it for the money somehow vanish. No one's accountable. No one's responsible. Why don't we do an audit? Not only into Jeffrey Epstein, not only into the scandal about Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and the scandal on Donald Trump that they did, but what about digging into this? What about digging into this big old scandal, this crowds on demand, and say, how many times were crowds on demand people placed in places that turned out to be riots or went violent? Property was destroyed. And if you work for Rent a Riot, Rent a whatever, are you going to be, hey, safe? You're guaranteed that, hey, nobody will come back on you for doing it? Or are we going to have these people individually responsible no matter who they work for? If the company is involved and every time they show up, riots break out after the fact? At some point, you got to think there's a connection. Well, the CEO said on Fox that there was certain people that asked him to work for him, and he wouldn't do it because he felt like the riots in LA, that was going too far. That might be kind of illegal stuff. So there's a line now that everybody's kind of fixed on this, focused on this. But was the line the same back in the day? Back in the, 2020, 2022, whatever, different summer of riots back in whatever? Or, hey, were the Rent a Riot people, were they at January the 6th? Were they? I don't know these things. I don't know the answers, but somebody needs to find out. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, we need accountability. I go back to my morality discussion. If we don't have morality for the people, in the family, then we're not going to have morality in the nation. And we need to stop Bill and Hillary Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein's of the world, even Donald Trump to some degree, attacking me for wanting the truth on Jeffrey Epstein. Shame on you, Donald. Let's get the truth. What are you afraid of, Mr. Trump? If you're not afraid of anything, let's just go. Let's just leak it all out, let it rip. Let's have transparent accountability. And when it comes to your public and private life, we don't expect you to be perfect. We can forgive mistakes. But when you have national scandals and then you say to us, hey, you don't have any business in my business, you're wrong, politician. You work for me. Remember that, son. It is my business. And if you don't think it's my business, then you're fired and you can go do your own business on your own private time. When it's public time, we, the public, will demand different. When are we going to get there, people? That's what I want to see in America, because I want to see a bright future for America. I want America to be great again. But in order for that to happen, America's got to be moral again. Not only that, I'm not just for America. I want every country to be great again. After all, we're all God's children. And if we help each other make our countries great again, just imagine where we could go with that. So when Donald Trump wants to sit down with the Russian president, then sit down with the Ukrainian president and European leaders, I applaud all the sit downs. Let's diplomatically work together and find solutions and make everybody great. We could do so. We can set aside some differences. We don't have to betray trust and mutually destroy one another. We can build a bridge to the future for solutions if we try. At least we can do our very best as the leader of the free world to make that our serious, clear, concise priority. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's my video. Just thought you should check it all out, see what I think on some of the subjects this week that are making a difference in all of our lives, whether we pay attention to it or not, whether we know it or not. I'm Sam Bushman. This half hour is brought to you by lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and listen to all the talk radio you can handle, will you please? lovingliberty.net. I'm Sam Bushman. God save our republic.